Hey guys, it's M4J here, and welcome back to M4J-Hatfield Racing here on F1 2021. Last time out then we conquered Austria, or we tried to conquer Austria. We did alright, we had a points finish, which I believe is our second points finish of the season so far. And we're looking to capitalise on that at one of arguably the best tracks on the F1 calendar. My absolute favourite, one of the best tracks ever designed, in all honesty. And yes, I am slightly exaggerating, but it is still one of the pinnacles of motorsport. We are at Silverstone for the British Grand Prix. I've been to Silverstone twice in the last 12 months. I've actually driven the track as well, which is incredibly exciting. It's the track that I drive the most in both F1 and Assetto Corsa, and I'd argue it's the only track that I know the full layout of, and the name of every corner as well. Saying that, let me just let Jeff finish here. Saying that, I'm not going to name every corner here because I will get one wrong and it will be embarrassing. But yes, here we are then in P2. P1 was another quick practice, didn't go out on track. P2, I did go out on track, as you see here. Not the best start to the lap here. The fact that turn 1 is meant to be a flat out corner, but it very much depends on the setup of your car. So once again, I'm using the racinggames.gg car setups. The track guides I wrote myself for the videos that we have, and failed to adhere to any of them. Car setups though are very, very good, and as the race went on, I did find myself trusting the car more and more around certain corners. So very good setups, just don't always trust the track guides, and I can say that because I wrote them, or do trust the track guides and actually use them. That's probably the best way of saying it. Don't trust the idiot who wrote them, trust the guides themselves. There was meticulous research went into writing those track guides, believe me. I watched the footage back like 12 times in slow motion to see exactly where braking points are and things like that. And then I just, in the heat of the moment, completely forget about every single one of them. This is actually, it's turning into quite a good lap. Sector 2, which used to be my worst sector, going through Maggots and Beckett's and around Copse. Now Copse, I don't know what you're supposed to do around Copse, because I lift slightly and then find myself needing to brake still. The new downforce regulations have completely screwed me in that department. But did a pretty decent lap time there. Purple second and third sectors. It was just sector 1. Loop let me down and Village let me down. Other than that, did alright. I will start dropping corner names in as I remember that they're definitely called that. And let's go talk to Claire.
Good day today. Let's have your take on it. How did it feel to be racing on home turf? It looks like you've invested heavily in the development of new parts. You really went all out in practice today. Are you testing new components? Do you think this team are performing as well as they could do? Appreciate your time.
So that's the chinwag with Claire out of the way, and now it's time to get down to the business end of things, qualifying. Now, like I said at the top of the video, Silverstone is my track. You know, it's the one I drive the most, it's the one that I've memorized the most, and it's the one that I like to think I can put in some pretty consistent laps on. Now, I did Lap of Lights last year, that's when I got to drive the track. Very good, by the way. I highly recommend it if they do it again this year, as many of you go as possible. One of the things they had there was a time trial thing. So you got to sit in an actual like budget race simulator. Let's not get carried away here. It wasn't state of the art, but it was very, very good for what it was. And you got to do lap after lap after lap of Silverstone for, I think it was 10 minutes you get. And I did very, very well. I actually set, very, very brief moment, I think it was 10 minutes. I set the fastest lap of a 1:33, I think it was. Might have been a 1:31. It was a 1:30 something, and it was the lower end of the scale. And because of that and that alone, I'd truly memorized the track going into this. So even though it was a couple of months ago now, in fact it was just over a month and a half ago, I memorized the track layout. And that, for me, is the key. So Austria, last week, that's a very easy track to remember, so there's no worries there. And you can kind of pick up on braking points and how to go around certain corners. The only real challenging corner in Austria is turn 3. Silverstone has a couple of challenging corners. Coming up here to, I want to say it's Club, but it's not. I think the last right-hander is Club. This is Club that we're coming up to now. The chicane is actually quite easy, believe it or not. The challenging part is the first corner here, which I believe is called Abbey, and we don't actually see me get to do it, which is kind of sad. That's the challenging one, because that used to be a flat-out corner last year. This year, you actually have to lift. If you don't get the corner right, so we're going to see it here. Coming up to the first corner, you see I move over to the left, and this is supposed to be a flat-out corner. I just about, I think, kept my front right on the track there. But that's not how you do that corner at all. Nor is that how you do Village. That's kind of how you do Loop, though, so I can't be too upset about that one. And obviously, the old track layout used to go down the Farm Straight and then round Bridge. This is the new part of the track. This is the Wellington Straight, and it joins up with Brooklands. There's a gateway on the left there. You can just about see where the track used to come out, and that joins up. And then it's basically the same layout that you know and love today. Coming around Luffield then, and Woodcote is the other one, I believe. Onto the National Straight. This is where Verstappen and Hamilton had their little oopsie last year. Again, Copse used to be flat out. Now you've got to lift slightly. I always downshift as well from 8th to 7th. It's probably not the best way of doing that. Upshift again to 8th just before Maggots, which is the first left-right. And then Beckett's, which is this set here. And then there's this corner that I never remember the name of. I think it's Chapel or something like that. And then into the Hangar Straight. This is where that famous protester came onto the track and nearly caused a massive collision. Round Stowe. And again, I kind of got this one right majority of the time throughout the weekend. Sometimes I made some mistakes. And like I said, this chicane here I think is actually the easiest part to get right. The coming out onto the straight here, the International Straight, not so easy. I lost the car a couple of times there. Especially during practice, I lost the car a few times there. So not the best with that. But we do get through to Q3. Forgot to mention we got through to Q2, but we did get through to Q3, where it was absolutely tipping it down. So at this point, wasn't really expecting anything magical. I like how Tom's put on the notes here, Q3 best lap. If this is the lap I'm thinking of, it has a bit of a comical ending, shall we say. I'm not going to give too much away. This is a real challenge, though. So obviously, the Delta...
2 laps of fuel remaining.
The Delta being green here means nothing. It just means you're beating your previous lap time. It doesn't show you anything compared to the other drivers. So coming up to the end of the first sector here, actually set a fastest first sector. Considering Ricciardo was up at the top, I was quite surprised by that, because I felt like I was going really, really cautious. Going wide on corners as well, obviously, because you hit the brakes as if it's dry out, and then you carry on going straight on. Not the best thing in the world. That's probably the best I've actually done Woodcote, though, which is surprising in the wet. Copse, you actually have to brake this time. You saw the line turn red, so it's not just lifting, it's actual braking as well. Same with Maggots here. You can see the right-hander here is actually, it was yellow, so lifting was required. Going into Beckett, pretty similar thing. But again, the line was quite tidy. One thing rain makes you do is focus a lot more, and it actually makes you brake. Obviously, it makes you brake earlier because the track's slippy, but it makes you concentrate more on your braking points. So when you're racing in the dry, you kind of feel a bit more invincible, like you can do anything, which is not necessarily the case when it's wet. Especially tracks like Canada, where there's barriers just off the road. It really does make you hone in a lot more on where exactly you're starting to slow down. And yeah, this is the one I was thinking of. We end up crossing the line backwards. Yeah, I actually think we set a decent lap time still. We went 7th fastest with that lap time. That's just one of those things, I suppose. I'm going to talk over Crofty for this bit here, and then I will stop in a second for the actual race. So we qualified in 9th. Sainz finished below us. Overall then, pretty good going into the race itself.
We return once again then to the home of British motorsport and the birthplace of the Formula One World Championship. It's race day here at Silverstone, and it's time for the British Grand Prix. The 3.6 miles of the Silverstone circuit in Great Britain is hallowed ground to the Formula One faithful. We have 18 corners that wrap around this former World War II airbase and some good passing opportunities at the end of the DRS zones. Anthony Davidson joins me once again in the commentary box, and it's fantastic to have you with us here today, but I'm curious, as a man with experience out on the track, how do you stop those pre-race nerves from becoming overwhelming when you're lining up on the grid?
But from the moment qualifying's over, you start to feel the adrenaline in your body build up and the buzz in your stomach as you anticipate the run down into turn 1. It's all a bit like going into battle, and the unknown situation makes you nervous. Those pre-race nerves are a good thing. The day you don't have them means that you don't care anymore. And of course you have to make sure that all the procedures are second nature to you, so that they're not taking up too much of your capacity.
Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks for today's race. Max Verstappen put in a fantastic lap yesterday, and he starts from pole position, and Valtteri Bottas will line up alongside. Looking down the rest of the grid, we have Hamilton, Perez, Daniel Ricciardo and Norris, Leclerc, Gasly, the engineer and Carlos Sainz, Fernando Alonso, Vettel, Yuki Tsunoda and Ocon, Stroll, Raikkonen, Antonio Giovinazzi and George Russell, Mick Schumacher, Latifi, Mazepin and Louis Delatraz. And with lights out just moments away, it's time to go down to the track.
Alrighty then, time to do the job. So, start of the race here. We're actually on my preferred side of the track here at Silverstone, which is on the outside of turn 1. You see I got a lightning start.
Be aware that we will start to see a loss of power.
I got an incredible start off the line there. One thing I learned, so I don't like Verstappen. I've made that pretty clear over the last year or so. I think he's a very good driver, don't get me wrong, but I think he's too aggressive in certain moments and doesn't take losing very well. However, one thing I learned from him, which I utilised there, was upshifting into second. Now, I think Verstappen actually starts in second gear this is, I should say, not second place. Starts in second gear, and that's why he gets such a lightning launch off the line, because first gear you can get a lot of wheel spin and lose traction. So because of that, I decided to upshift as quickly as possible into second, and ended up nearly ploughing into the back of, I think it was Lando in front of me. Because of that, made up some good places, did then lose them again, because I had a couple of issues later on in the first lap there. But really good start, arguably my best ever start in an F1 race, with manual gears as well, which I'm very happy about.
Okay, good work, great pass.
Had a little... I mean, again, you know when you hate something that you're similar to? I think that's where my problem is with Verstappen, because my driving style is very, very similar. We also had some very bad news from Jeff at the start of this race, that my ICE was showing some wear, therefore I was down on power. And I got distracted there, going into, this is Brooklands, isn't it? Yeah. I ended up losing a place to Vettel. Me and Vettel, we have quite a few debates, shall we say, throughout the race. Just listening to Jeff finishing his little speech there. And this, if I got my correct moment, yep, this is the moment of the race for me. Just nicking it up the inside of Vettel and Alonso, and then just about sending Alonso backwards there as well. What an overtaking maneuver. That sent me back up into the points. Alonso had a problem as well. I didn't actually remember hearing that during the race, but I saw it on my notes just now, and I heard Jeff talk about it there too on the radio. So that did help. And then Vettel got past Alonso pretty quickly too.
7.6 seconds.
And at this point, it's about hunting down the cars in front. I think I nailed that turn 1 there as well, to be honest. Coming out of the final corner again on lap 6, entering lap 7. And still haven't pitted at this point. We're still out on the softs. Coming out of the final corner again on lap 7, going into lap 8. You can tell not much happened during this period of the race. This here, though, is where the movement starts happening. So, the leaders pit. I stay out on track. I've done the undercut in the past. This time I was trying to go for the overcut. I also had an issue that Louis, my teammate, pitted on the same lap, and it took me half a lap before Jeff would actually let me come in. Now, considering double stacking is a thing in F1, I'm not really sure what the hell that was all about. But yeah, I had to wait for my pit window to reopen. So because of that, I feel like I did perhaps compromise the lap slightly. So I didn't get the advantage that I was hoping for, because I spent half the time on the radio trying to get the box now thing to work. But eventually they let me come in. I'm just checking where we are in relation to the race. Pit stop back down to 12th. That's what happened. So yeah, a couple of cars here come past. Considering where I was when I came into the pits, I think I went from 3rd down to 12th, which isn't bad, all things considered. It could have been a lot worse. And this is definitely a track where pitting is a strategic thing. Silverstone has one of the slowest pit lanes on the F1 calendar. I think it's because of that right-hander going into the pit. It might also be because it slopes downwards, so visibility might be trickier for certain people. So crossing the road means you've got to go slower. I think it's 39 miles an hour as opposed to the normal 50. I couldn't see what it was on the dash there just now, but you'll know it. You'll see it. It's slow. I think I nailed that turn 1 there as well, and turn 2. That's where you've really got to trust the car. I did goof up this chicane though. That wasn't my finest moment.
Okay, some information on Bottas. They are out of the race.
And then Bottas withdraws from the race with a mechanical failure, which sent me from 10th up to 9th. So we are well into the points finishes now. And as we come around the corner for the final lap of the race, I'm going to commentate over the top of this. I think Tom's left it all in. There's turn 1, absolutely nailed. As the car gets lighter, you can throw it around the corners a lot more. Nailed turn 2 as well. There's turn 3, which is village. Here's turn 4, which is loop. I'm going to stop referring to them by numbers now, because I think there are some that are numbers but aren't, if that makes sense. A bit like turn 2 in Austria. Down the Wellington straight then, absolutely gunning it. The fact that Sainz, for like 4 or 5 laps at the end of the race, Sainz was within reach. If I just kept my foot down and didn't make mistakes, I probably would have caught the 2 Ferraris. Unfortunately, I kept my foot down and made all the mistakes, which meant I never quite had the opportunity to race the Ferraris. But I genuinely believe on another day I would have caught them and possibly even gone past them. I had a really solid race. And actually watching this final lap, again, I've said this before, when you're driving you feel very chaotic. You feel like you're missing your line, you're screwing up braking points, all sorts of things. I did screw up that one a little bit. Maggots and Beckett's is always tricky, let's be honest. I'm defending myself here, and they're clipping the grass there too. But I'm actually really pleased with some of these lines that I'm taking. I feel like I'm actually doing a pretty decent job. And you can see the Ferraris, they do pull away in certain straights, because I've got no power. As you remember, the ICE is worn. But to actually catch them again in the corners, you can see how close they are there. 2.4 seconds at the moment. It was 3.1 at the start of the lap. So I think with a couple more laps, I might have actually been able to catch them. But that was the end of the race. So now we cross over to Crofty and Anthony Davidson for the race results, and I'll join you again just after.
Victory for the team from Milton Keynes then, after a quality performance. Tell me, Ant, how do you think they were able to deliver such an incredible result today?
Well, I honestly feel it was down to the driver and car today. I mean, we can talk driver skill all day, but if you don't have a solid team to back that, you're never going to get anywhere. When you hit that sweet spot of having both an excellent driver and an incredible car, that's when you see results like those we witnessed today.
Red Bull are our winners today after showcasing some incredible driving. There's been a huge push from them lately to stay competitive with the other teams, and they're certainly proving themselves. So let's review the updated driver standings. Max Verstappen should be pleased with his performance, making gains at the top of the table. Let's focus on the driver of the day. Anthony Davidson, who do you pick?
Well, for me it's got to be Lewis Hamilton. The multiple world champion may be the boring choice at this point, but you can't argue that he's a driver deserving of his reputation.
Let's move on to the constructors. Red Bull pull further ahead in the standings. And with that, we wrap up another weekend of motorsport. But with more races lined up, be sure to join us when we come back with more Formula One.
So a pretty good race, all things considered. Started in 9th, finished in 9th. Considering we had the wear on the ICE as well, it was good to actually get over the line. I'm very happy with that. Very, very happy. You see, I saved the race replay. In fact, I was that happy. Louis finished 21st. Obviously, with Bottas retiring, wasn't that great. In terms of teammate, I think I will keep Louis for the rest of the season. I see no reason to get rid of him. I'm going to go talk to Claire quickly, and we'll come back and we'll talk about that a little bit more.
Great work out there today. Let's have your thoughts. How are the fans at your home Grand Prix treating you?
Your team must be ecstatic with how you're performing.
Great. Well, that's everything.
So as I was saying, I think I will keep Louis as my teammate for the rest of the first season, maybe into the second season. I see no point right now in judging him based on the ability of the car. You see there in the background, he doesn't actually get a bad start. He starts to make up some ground. He's obviously not got the fastest car. That's the thing. I'm driving the car a lot better than the car actually is. I don't mean to sound too big-headed in that. I basically mean, oh, look at that, I got up to 8th at one point. And then had a little struggle with Leclerc, and that dropped me back down. As you see, he comes around the outside there. It's only because I do get a bit aggressive when I'm defending that he drops back. He does get past me, as you know. But yeah, there's no point in judging Louis compared to everyone else right now, because our car is way worse than the Haas, the Williams, the Alfa. So there's no sense in saying he's doing a bad job. I think he's actually doing a good job. Sometimes he doesn't finish dead last. He'll finish a place or two up. He's crashed into me a couple of times, mainly my fault, which I'm not too, I'm not going to judge him on that either, because it does happen. So yeah, I think he's worth sticking with, definitely. We'll see where we go at the second half of the season. I think moving into season 2, it might be worth looking at getting someone else in. But right now, there's no risk. There's no massive reward from replacing him. There's also no risk in replacing him. Apart from the financial one. Oh, just looking at the front wing there, the way the light shines off it is so beautiful. Very damaged though. You can already see I've had some collisions there already. I think I hit the back of Vettel, which Tom did cut out, but it did happen. I will hold my hands up and admit to that. But yeah, I'm not going to replace Louis. I'm going to keep him for the rest of the season. I'm going to talk about what's going on in the race right now. All those highlights, by the way, I remember talking to my girlfriend about this when we were watching them back. That was all just the first 2 laps, all those overtakes and maneuvers and everything. It does get very, very quiet towards the middle part of the race. There's me getting past Vettel again. I didn't want to send him into the barrier like what happened to Verstappen. I wasn't trying to do anything like that. I just tried to get back on the line at Copse, and he tried to take the normal line, and that's why we collided. Here's my epic overtake on Vettel and Alonso. Look at that. I'm actually amazed I made that corner. You see I overbraked, which is how Alonso got alongside me again. That could have ended badly. But yeah, that pretty much does it for this episode, guys. I'm going to try and get the outro done before I cross the line this time. So thank you very much for watching. Don't forget to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video, and of course if you enjoyed the series. Drop those comments down below. Let me know how to improve the driver, the team, all that good stuff. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, be sure to hit the subscribe button. If you have already subscribed to the channel, thank you guys for your continued support. And until next time, I will see you soon.